My name is Paleo Joe, and I am a paleontologist. I am a real dinosaur digger. I love to dig in the dirt. You kids like to dig in the dirt?
Yeah.
One of my jobs as a paleontologist is I travel around the country and the world digging for those things we call fossils. And sometimes those fossils are dinosaurs. Who's in the jaws of the T-Rex?
Yeah.
Paleo Joe in there. But look very carefully at the picture of me right there and me standing here. You can tell in this picture I'm a lot smaller than I am in real life, so that tells you, although this is a really big picture of a T-Rex skull, it is still smaller than real life. The real T-Rex skull is about 6 feet long as this table. I just couldn't get a poster made big enough to show you how big it was, so this is going to have to do. But it's a pretty good poster because you can see this guy was a meat-eating or carnivorous animal. He's got teeth that curve inwards towards the center of his body. But now, was he a super predator? Let's talk about that. To be a good super predator, you got to have really good eyesight. The T-Rex eye was located right there. The T-Rex had a very, very small eye. To be a good super predator, you got to have good eyesight. Think about hawks and eagles and owls. They're super predators. They've got big eyes. T-Rex had tiny little eyes. Okay, let's put that aside for a second. Let's think about something else. We took a CAT scan x-ray of the skull of a T-Rex, and a CAT scan is an x-ray that looks inside things. We looked inside the skull of the T-Rex dinosaur, took all that information, plugged it into a supercomputer, and that computer made us a model of the T-Rex brain. This is a model of the T-Rex brain. Look how small it is. Your brain is bigger than this, and look how small your head is. Look how big the skull of the T-Rex was, and how small his brain was. This guy had a tiny little brain. But that's not the most important part. The most important part of the brain of a T-Rex is right here in the front. This is what we call the olfactory lobe, which means it's the smelling part of the brain. The smelling part of the brain is huge. It's almost the same size as the whole rest of the brain. So that tells scientists his sense of smell was more important than his sense of eyesight, his sense of smell. Rexy is my baby T-Rex. Rexy is kind of close to what we believe the Rexes look like. Look at his back legs, how big his back legs are. Look at his long tail. Look at that giant skull with all those sharp teeth. And look at how small his eye was. He had a tiny, tiny little eye, but look at his hands, look at his fingers. 2 tiny little arms with 2 tiny little fingers. Well, if they had cheeseburgers back then, he could probably grab a cheeseburger between 2 fingers and scratch his belly. What do you guys do when you go to McDonald's and have a cheeseburger? You grab that cheeseburger and you bring it to your mouth. You guys are super predators. He couldn't do that. He'd hold a cheeseburger down here and still scratch his belly because he couldn't eat it. Well, T-Rex was a giant, giant dinosaur. I believe he was an opportunistic hunter. He would catch whatever he could. If he came upon a nest of dinosaur eggs, he'd stop and eat the eggs. Good, healthy breakfast. If he came upon a dinosaur nest with baby dinosaurs in it, he'd stop and eat the baby dinosaurs. If he came upon a dinosaur that was sick or injured or wounded, he'd probably stop and eat him too. Was he a super predator? Well, probably not. But he was a meat eater, and he was an opportunistic hunter. Another thing about T-Rex, he was huge. He was about 18 feet tall at the hips, about 35 feet long. He weighed about 9 tons. He could run about 25 miles an hour. But could you imagine T-Rex running through the woods or running through the jungle and tripping and falling? He could die. What happens to you when you're on the playground and you trip and fall? You put your arms out to protect yourself so you don't get hurt. T-Rex couldn't do that. If T-Rex fell down, 9 tons of weight would come down, smack right on his chest and break his ribs. His ribs could go up into his heart, up into his lungs, and he could die. So although T-Rex could run very quickly, we don't think he did it very often because if he fell down, he may never get back up. Probably since last year, it's just loaded with fossils.
They're just having more fun throwing the clay at their bags and watching them.
There's a nice piece of horn coral here. There's shells right there. Here's another piece of horn coral right here. It's almost going to be better after you get a really major rain out here. Come back out and you'll see some great stuff. There's some rhizome here.
Try to be up your brother there.
How you see shell right there. There's another horn coral right there. Kind of like a that's kind of what goes inside the
probably gonna be a lot easier to find ones that are already like washed off over there, because like I've just found like a shell sitting.
Okay, we'll go show that to him. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Really nice crino discs. Yep.
Put it in the pocket so you don't drop it. Put that in the box.